to make a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We'll call this meeting to order. The select board meeting. The pledge of allegiance is first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We get a couple presentations tonight. The first one is our community navigator, Karen Hager. Karen Hager, would you like to update us on your job description and position and all the good work you've done?
Thank you, Abden. I didn't write up a report because that's not who I am. I like to kind of go off the cuff, but I did get a little bit of numbers for everyone to kind of understand where we started. We started December 1st, actually November 30th, I think was my first day because I was anxious to get in here. And I spent a good, the first week just getting to know people and making relationships and understanding what everyone did. And then I dove right into the toy program that you all have over here, which is wonderful. And I got to meet Justin, the PD, and we filled, I believe there were 27 families that applied through here. And our YMCA also does a community giving tree as well. And that was another 25 families that were not duplicates. And there were 5 that applied for both. And we were able to join those resources and not duplicate those resources. So I consider that kind of a win on being able to spread those resources out so that we're not having those duplicates. Shortly after that, we opened up the phone line. So I always make sure people understand it's not a crisis line. It is a help and a resource line. Total families that I've served since December 1st, that includes the 25 from the Y initiative, is 58 households. And I was looking at the patterns, and there's definitely some mental health that we can definitely use some supports on. And what's great is I am on the board of NAMI Maine, so I'm able to bring my knowledge and resources and connect to programs. And right now I'm working on trying to figure out who providers are in Lincoln County, because that's what we lack is providers.
For people who don't know what NAMI is, could you?
National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And Maine has its own chapter. And then I would say the biggest piece, and I did join the Homeless Coalition because I saw that as a huge, there's a piece of that. I would say if I was to like average it out, it's probably 80% of the folks that walk in, there's some piece of homelessness. And it doesn't always mean somebody's living in their car. It means that they're struggling to make their mortgage. They're struggling to pay their utilities, so the utilities are in jeopardy. It could mean that folks are living in the car, and there are some of those as well. And luckily, we have a great community that has passion and doesn't want to see that. So we're working diligently on trying to combine some of those groups that are focused on homelessness and trying to figure out where our priorities are in that. The other piece that is great about bringing our outreach program in is the work that we've already started with Lincoln County Recovery Collaborative. This police department, as well as all the other departments in Lincoln County and the sheriff, have combined back in 2016, signed a memorandum of understanding. So now I get to connect those folks with services. And Julie asked me, she said, what are some of your favorite cases and families that you've served? And I would say that there was a woman that was battling Lyme, and she, was doing well with employment. She was in retirement age, but still needing to make money, and she couldn't because of Lyme. And we were able to connect her with some of the services that she needed to get her home back in order, and get her utilities paid through a couple of resources that I'm connected with. And also get her connected with Lincoln Health for a provider, a therapist, and also connect her with food and pet food supplies. And one of her observations was just having that relief of those things could help her focus on, okay, what's next steps? And sometimes when you take away those basic needs, your mental capacity to even put things in priority gets in jeopardy. And she was really declining. And then another one that was most recent was somebody that was a female, was 3 months sober, trying to get her feet underneath her again, and she literally was homeless. And we were able to I connect with a lot of recovery worlds across Maine, and I reached out to a friend who's the manager of a women's recovery house, and there was a bed, a room available, and she can stay there for up to 2 years. So I would say those were my favorites. So seeing the successes and the light clear when somebody realized even the simple, just one simple need met, gives somebody hope enough to either call back or text, and I always try to follow up and see where they're going. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions.
I will just say this, it's just one thing, because
Yeah.
when Karen Ann's in, there's a different energy in the office, and it's great. But it's nice every once in a while we get compliments, and Karen Ann's been a great source of compliments. And this is a quote from someone she helped that was sent to us. I found outreach and community navigation quite by accident on social media. I needed help figuring out how to get that help. Karen Ann is a kind and amazingly skilled person. The two problems weighing heavily on me were solved in a matter of days. Sometimes when you ask for help, you get it. And I just think that that's one of, those are the types of things that change lives. I like to think, and it's easy when you're dealing with EMS, you can say, well, they saved a life today. You can see that, I've watched them bring people back, but you also save lives just in a different way. And we're very lucky to have you. So, but that's something that's really nice when you see something like that and you realize, because this program, I know for this select board, has been near and dear since it's, we worked, took a while to get you, but we got you, and we're so glad you're here. So it's been great.
I'll just add one last thing is, I think what's made my job, if you think of a navigator, it's a GPS, right? And it's really about convening and making the connections. Oh, you need this, you need to go here. And what's nice about what's been over here is that I can call John, I can call Chief, I can call Smeltzer, all of them. If I don't know something, they come in and they put the puzzle together, and it really is a collaborative effort that's taking place. And even over at the school, they're now opening up, and we're helping them put programs into the school because of the connections that are being made. And I think it's combining resources, financial and manpower, that's making it successful.
And we should also point out that Karen Ann's been able to do this amazing work without any public dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about finding the right resources for the people.
Yeah, again, and like there's one woman that was homeless. We found her a place to live. And between Daryl and I and me reaching out to some community members and Y members, we were able to furnish and bring food into this home so that they could get back on their feet. And there were times when she couldn't accept it because she had gotten a job and her job hours didn't allow her to meet me. So that was a good problem to have.
Bob?
One of the things we struggled with was where you should be. You're in the town office. Is that okay? Does that work for you? Or did
It
you
works
find that
great
as a
because no, I think it works great. And like I said before, it helps me because, and it doesn't mean that my hours stop. That's not the person I am. So when I'm over in my office, even at the Y, if there's a follow-up that needs to happen, it's going to happen. But the liberty to leave the office and go over to the Madomic house and see what's going on, or who do you need help with, or, connecting. This office has been phenomenal with making the connections and being able to walk over to Chief's office and say, hey, I have a question for you. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Thank you.
Seth?
Seth Hall, resident.
Hi, Seth.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Are there any resources that, given no constraints, that might be useful in your work that the town could offer? Not necessarily dollar resources or something, but just sort of critical pieces of help that you could use for me, the citizens of the town. That we should be
I
thinking
think
about.
like every community, we need to figure out reasonable housing that isn't, the problem that I have is there might be folks that can afford housing, they can't afford the startup, and we have no locations to put them. So I rely heavily on other initiatives. And I was on an 1.5-hour meeting today, just a lot of brainstorming of what could we do. Does that answer your question?
No, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else got any questions? Selectwood? Katie?
No, I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Oh, I guess you are all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move along. Sproul Block Historical Kiosk. Ron, you are up.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't be there. I've got had some help on this project. I think Julie and Bob Butler are familiar with the Sproul Block effort that we've undergone historically. A meeting with Joe Cloutier and some of his staff originally, and even some of the tenants who were quite delightful and interested in an effort we were making. What is it? Almost a couple of years ago now, to open up some ground floor commercial space. And Joe and his team were quite interested in helping to bring to life that facility in that way. So there is an opening in the future for prospects in that way if we want to discuss that further. But short of that, we were able to get an awning put on the facade. I haven't seen it extended myself. I don't know if anybody else has, but that's a start. I note Barbara Boardman is on this call, and I think at one point I asked her what her view was about, types of ways to improve the looks of the building. So this is all some historic stuff to complicate this moment and take up your time, hopefully productively. So we were able to get the awning put up, which I think was quite expensive. It was, Joe incurred that cost. And so now the next step was to put some kind of historic display on the north or northwest corner of the building. And that's been, a journey which I got myself in over my head a little bit. As you can imagine, every kind of display has a word or two or something that might not be as appropriate or the best possible. So this has been through various iterations, and you've got in front of you, those who can view it, a larger scale rendering of the display. That's a 3x4 size. The narrative and content of that has been texted to you as select board members and to Julie, of course. And my goal here is to make sure you're okay with it in the sense that your logo is on it, as well as a reference to the town website. Also, other links are put there, the Waldeboro Business Association, and I have sent this to Jen Merritt, and I think she's sent it on to her board members, and as well, of course, Jean Lawrence and the Historical Society. And I might add that Jean has endorsed this and helped improve the text, let's put it that way. A lot has been cut out of it, and it's a much shorter version than we started with. But the ideas are pretty self-evident in terms of what the display is trying to capture. It will be on that printed on that weatherproof type material. There are different techniques, I gather, and we'll decide on what might be the most efficient. I've seen different versions of how that gets done. But if you are still with me on this, it's pretty straightforward. It begins with a couple of paragraphs on the history of Waldeboro a bit, then some description of the Sproul block. And over on the right, it ends with a thoughtful question, hopefully, about what history entails and depending on who views it or experiences it, what they might say about history and even the current times. And the photos are designed to be, give some impressions of the liveliness of that village. The lower left has a picture of festival times, and you can see the original balcony on the Sproul block. That's always been something of interest. Maybe some days that could get restored, who knows. The central photo on the bottom is just that sketch. I think Mark Bisco did that, I'm not sure. But it shows the combinations of businesses and so forth that occupied the village center. And of course, on the right are I think it's a great photo of the workers of the shipyard, at the shipyard. Above that photo are some references to some other historic sites. And then of course, the main photo, the eye-catching thing, is a painting by Jane Totman and a local artist at that time. I hope that helps people, grasp the meaning and value of that particular block and building in history. So that's it. And I supplied the text for the select board members and anyone else that Julie feels appropriate that should review it. I'm hoping that there's no real changes, except if you see some major error. But
we're not crazy enough to change Jean Lawrence's text.
I hope so, because I went back and forth. She got sick of me, frankly. And so thank you, Julie. But that's it.
Select board have any questions?
I have a couple, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Who's paying for this, Ron?
Well, it's a volunteer situation right now.
Cool.
Jean has calculated her hours, and she's put a lot of time in. I think a shout out should be given to Brian and Amanda Schusger, whom some of you probably know at Madonic Design, and he has volunteered to get to this stage, and then it's up to me to get it printed up and get all that to happen.
Just a couple more, if I may.
you've mentioned other locations in Waldoboro, which I think is a great idea. I do notice that you haven't included mention of the Reed Mansion, which does have a sign out on the front of the property on Jefferson Street. And that's something that Jean and the Historical Society dedicated last summer. I thought it would be helpful maybe to mention that. And there is one nit that I will pick with Jean. I'm not going to put you through that.
Yeah, okay, good. I wonder if there's a bullet, there might be a bullet space for that. And that would be easy to put in.
Yep, it just refers them to other locations in Waldoboro where they can walk and take an interest.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Anybody else on the select board?
Where is the kiosk going to be located?
Okay, as I said, the display would go on to the face of the building.
Oh, okay.
Either the smaller one by the mailbox and the larger one much more exposed. And we're not, or I'm not resolved as to what might be the best. In fact, if you have some tasteful ideas here, how to handle that one, that would be very helpful. If you understand what I mean. In other words, the larger one would go, let's say, on the north face, so you'd see it driving up Main Street rather boldly. The smaller one, which is would go by the mailbox, underneath, so it's not as obvious, but it's something to attract attention still.
Jan? Everything?
No, thank you, Ron, for
Katie,
doing
do you
this.
have anything?
Okay.
Katie, you all set?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'll wait to hear from Julie if anything comes up.
Does anybody in the audience have anything before you go, Ron?
Before you go, Ron,
Okay.
Ron, Seth here, just a quick question. You mentioned the Reed Mansion sign, which is actually a really attractive style on 2 posts, I think, from the dedication. Has any thought been given to not only putting a similar or stylistically fitting similar frame around this, either of those 2 signs you're talking about, and perhaps as Bob suggests, if there are other places like at the landing and other places we might want to do the same thing, keeping a consistent visual look and feel of a state park light or something like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Actually, I was looking originally to model this on the marine landing with a white frame, and that's still a possibility. That would probably be the one that we pick. The town then should really maybe help along those lines, and we still have time if we want to think about a consistent display. I don't like personally the formulaic historic displays that you see around towns. They all look alike kind of thing. I like the originality of the way some of these displays have been coming forward, but that's my personal opinion. But if there's a room for further discussion on that or whatever, I'll be glad to accommodate that, certainly.
Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none. Well, thank you, Ron.
Okay, have a good meeting. Thank you.
You as well. You have a good
thanks,
night.
Ron.
Thank you.
All right, I see we have no public hearings. Is there any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none. Citizens' comments. Does anybody got anything? Nope. Can
Yeah, if you
cover
could
that
just go up to the lectern.
so everybody out there in the world can hear you?
I hope you can hear me. 10-4.
I'm Jerry Hungerford. I'm a resident of Waldoboro. And I would like to speak in favor of the A.D. Gray Park. In 1935, the town of Waldoboro accepted a gift from the remaining members of the old Congregational Church. It was 1.5 acres of land where the church stood, which had been built in 1820. The town demolished the church and built the A.D. Gray School. The school served the town well for 83 years. When the RSU 40 High School and Junior High were built on Mankstown Road, The AD Gray School Building was abandoned and the town voted to accept it, and at the same time to purchase the adjacent former house that was used as a library and 2.5 acres for $64,000. Now they had to decide what to do with it. During the course of 13 years, I believe it was offered for sale for $1 at 2 different periods of time and put into the hands of a real estate broker once. Several times the town has considered demolishing the building. Yes, there have been a couple of offers to buy the property for $1, none of which came about with the exception of one. That was when the town voted to sell it to the Central Lincoln County YMCA for $1 and to give them access to the Ann Gay Bailey Trust Fund. After 3 years, having partially demolished the building and spending over $200,000 from the Ann Gay Bailey Fund, the YMCA returned the property to the town. I understand that there are those who have sentimental attachments to the property. They went to school there, their children attended the school, or they taught there. It is time to let go of the building and keep the good memories. I have also heard suggestions of converting the building into a rec center. How many millions will it cost the taxpayers to rebuild a partially demolished 83-year-old building to today's standards? There are those who have said that the building has great value and good bones. If that is so, why haven't there been people clamoring to purchase it for full market value or $1? The land is where the value is. The deteriorating building needs to go and the land should be kept by the town and used by all the members of the community. We now have an opportunity to do this. Individuals have come forward to make this happen. Already over $180,000 has been pledged, and a campaign for an additional funds has not even been started. Petition to put a question on the ballot in June has been circulated. 232 signatures were required to put it on the ballot. We stopped collecting signatures at 350. There are people still asking to sign it as they did not have the opportunity to do so. The question should be on the ballot for all the townspeople to decide if they want to accept this gift. The former AD Gray School building will be demolished and the obsolete tennis courts removed, and the wetland buffer area will be restored at no expense to the taxpayers for the creation of a town park. The best use of this land is to preserve it for future generations and to let it be enjoyed by today's citizens, young and old. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Oh,
No, I had a question. We're going to discuss the solar initiative, not the solar initiative, the old business item, relay power. I had a comment about that, and I don't know if this is the time to make it or not. I'll do it.
If you just want to do a citizen's comment, you'll have to wait until then. If you want to do a citizen's comment.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay. All right, we'll move along.
No.
No, sorry. Sorry.
She deferred.
Yes, yes.
I'm Jeanette Wheeler, and I'm a Waldoboro resident, and I'll keep this very short. In regards to the park, personally, I think we will all agree that this is something that's going to impact the entire town of Waldoboro. And whether you want to vote to have the AD Gray School stay intact and have something done with that, or whether citizens, and I've talked to a lot of young people, would like to have a park. A lot of young families, they've been shut down, the children have been shut in. They think it's a delightful idea to have a park, to have Sunday afternoons where they can go and have a picnic after church, or the children run and play free and not be confined to their homes. Either way, whether we want it to turn into senior housing at the A.D. Gray School, or whether we want to turn it into a park, the entire town will be impacted. And I think the entire town should have that opportunity to vote it up or down. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to make citizens comment on this topic? Go ahead. Okay, Seth Hall, neighbor, last speaker, and resident of Waldeboro, of course. As many of you know, I've been deeply interested, and active in trying to figure out, or help the town figure out what to do with the 80 Gray property and building for literally years. I'm relatively agnostic at this point about whether we tear the building down or we try to reuse it. We do know, as a fact, having done engineering studies, that it's completely intact and structurally fine. It could be done if somebody wanted to use it, be it Volunteers of America or something else, or rec department center, community center. But mostly, I think this is an opportunity for the town to really focus on the village, economic development, bringing people here into the community, supporting our local downtown businesses, which, as some of you know, I've been trying to do, having moved part of my business here. It's just as Jeanette says, it's a practically once in a lifetime opportunity. The town has not been able to figure out really what to do successfully for 12 or 13 years, something like that. And I think we should think long and hard about what would be best for the town as a whole, as a community. This is a community building exercise, it seems to me. Whether the town puts money into it, whether it's all private money, that's a different set of issues. But I hope we don't lose this opportunity. It's just, it's a terrific opportunity for, I mean, just think how good Waldeboro days have been there until last year. It's just a really nice spot. Safe for kids on bikes, no traffic racing around, you know, like on Old Main Road. Good for elders walking, and it could easily be expanded. Adjacent landowners have talked about making donations of land to expand the park itself, going up the hill and over to Greenwood. That's all I just want to say. I think it's a terrific opportunity. I know we'll all think long and hard about it, and hopefully we'll all vote bindingly on the disposition of whatever we come up with.
See any more hands up, so I guess we will move along. Select board comments. Bob, do you have any?
Yeah, I've got three.
Go ahead.
One is basically to ask the select board for consensus to assign something to the Communications Technology Committee. The Midcoast Community Broadband Coalition has been active. Ruben has worked with and knows one of the guys who's been getting this organized, a guy named John Beeman. And if the board could simply task the CTC with following through and exploring this as an option for potential future opportunities for Waldeboro, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
The second thing I'd have to say, we've talked about, I won't say it, we'll leave it, sorry. I don't want to load Julie up here. The EDC, though, is requesting guidance. Remember, we had a discussion at one of our meetings about branding, and they've come up with some ideas, and they'd like a clarification of what the target is for this branding. Is it the residents of the town to make them feel better about being in Waldeboro, or is it to attract businesses to Waldeboro? And we could have a discussion about that at a later meeting, perhaps added as an agenda item later on.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, just indicating that we're okay with referring the Midcoast Community Broadband Initiative to the CTC, that would be appreciated.
Should we make a motion? Would somebody be, just for formality, somebody make a motion that we task the, because we've done that before with other
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? You all set, Katie?
Yes.
Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And when do you want to have the EDC discussion at the next meeting?
Up to you and Abden.
Next meeting?
Yep.
Which is, oh, I got it.
Colonel, do you have anything?
One, I attended an online public safety discussion with the Maine Mutual Association, and that was really good, where the town managers, the police chiefs from Wiscasset, Waldoboro, Damascotta, I think the town manager from Bath was part of it, and they all talked about their problems and challenges of sustaining good public safety. And I just wanted to spread that out, that, you know, they're working hard, they're doing everything they can, and they're using the maximum amount of ability and creativity to get the job done. And what's really surprising, and it was brought up before in one of our meetings, that there are 200 spaces of people to go through the academy that are open. I mean, it's just overfull, and that's really causing the community some problem. The second thing was the cleanup last weekend went, you know, very well, much better than what I remember last year. I was with Katie out at the town landing, and I think we had 10 citizens that came through, and their families in some cases. And then the shellfish folks did part of their conservation and cleanup of the shoreline, and really it went well. And I'll tell you, the area across from Hannaford, which is traditionally a really tough place, I went by there this morning and it's wonderful. They did it, you know, those 10 people just in a short time did just a magnificent job. And there's 3 more of those coming up, and I just wanted to, you know, let everybody know, about every 2 weeks, I think, a Saturday or Sunday. Okay, and then the last thing I have is that at the cleanup, a citizen came up and said that the town crosswalks need to be repainted especially downtown by the signs and everything. So I just wanted to.
So 2 things.
Yeah.
One, I spoke to John Daigle about that, and
Okay.
he said before Memorial Day for the repainting. And the police forum that you attended, we got permission from MMA to share that with LCTV. So if you didn't see it, and I highly recommend it, I thought it was the best 2 hours I've spent in a long time in that situation, where it was a forum where you could be asked questions. And it's something very timely about community policing. I think it's well worth your watch. It is about 2 hours. It'll be like on a Zoom screen. I just have to talk to Larry at LCTV to see if they can accommodate us, but it was worth the watch.
Yeah, I mentioned it to him, and he's
Mhm.
trying to get it. So.
Yeah, I have the link. I just got to figure out how to
Yep.
make it all work.
Yeah.
I did try to watch that this afternoon using the link that you sent, and I got maybe 5 minutes worth of good stuff, and then the rest of it
Okay,
wasn't good. So it may be,
I will let her know.
hopefully,
I will
something they
ask
can
the
correct.
MMA to send me.
Because what I
something
saw
else.
was great.
Okay, it
Yeah.
was.
It would be a shame to not have the rest of it available.
It was.
Jan?
I watched that too. It was a really good definition and example, specific local examples of community policing.
Yeah.
And the fellow, Noel March,
No March.
what a good facilitator he was. And it was interesting. So that was good. But that's not what I wanted to talk. Don't we have a lot of comments tonight? I was talking to someone in Rangeley this past weekend, who was a woman I'd known for many years, was concerned, knowing that I work in the schools, was very concerned about me and COVID. We were at Saddleback, who also has to accommodate COVID with large crowds. And I told her at the time that actually I feel safer in our schools than I do in our grocery stores or our hardware stores or anywhere else. And I explained to her how the school has set up their protocols, and she was concerned about masks, because there we were looking at people who were not wearing their masks or not wearing them appropriately, wearing them under their nose, which makes for a really bad look. Just want to tell you, in my opinion, besides not being safe. And I told her that at school, it's really easy. You just tell the students they have to, and they do, because they don't have a choice. They're in school and there are rules and they have to follow the rules, or they go to the office, and if they don't follow those rules, then they go home. And now, of course, with all the computers, they can learn at home if they're choosing not to follow the rules. But at any rate, so I was telling her about that, and she was totally surprised. And she said that she had felt that schools would be the hardest places to be. And I told her the students are so happy to be there that they'll do whatever they need to do. And they will, for the most part, give their social distance when they're in class, and they have to. They have seating plans so that they have to sit in the same place every time, and that has to be a certain distance, and everyone knows who sat where in case there are any issues. At any rate, she was delighted, and she said to me, "You've made my day. I've been so worried about schools." And it made me think that perhaps other people were worried also and didn't realize that probably schools are the safest place. Now, when I'm working there, I can't tell somebody, I can't go up to them and say, which means get the mask over your nose. And I think I counted maybe 5 people in a hallway that you need. All you have to do is do this, and they go and fix it. I can't do that in my other job. I mean, I can do that, but I don't get the same reaction. So anyway, I thought that probably I should let other people know that the schools really are doing their due diligence and they are working hard, and the students are really doing an excellent job, in my opinion. And I hope they continue through June. That's it.
Katie, do you have anything?
Just to reiterate what the colonel said, that the first day of the river cleanup was phenomenal. We had a lot of people there. And also, the next scheduled meet is Sunday, April 25th from 8 to 12:30. And then the next one after that is Sunday, May 23rd, 7:30 to 11:30. And the last one for the year is Saturday, June 5th, 7 a.m. to 11. So if anybody wants to get out there and help out, especially with the roadside cleanup, those dates are available. Come on down and join in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I just got one. We launched our upweller for the Shellfish Committee. That's been an act of Congress to get permits to do that. We applied last year and we had no problems this year. We went to reapply again and we had nothing but roadblocks. Between my vice chair, Glenn Melvin, screaming and hollering at DMR, and Julie hollering at Army Corps of Engineers, we get both of our
I didn't
permits.
holler.
Well.
I was the honey, he was the vinegar.
But anyways, we got our permits for our upwellers downriver, and hopefully we'll have one of them down there this week, by the end of this week. And we just got estimates for what it's going to cost to build a second one, which everyone knows building materials have doubled in the last year. So we got to look at our budget and make sure we can afford to do that.
So it
Build
is
a second.
in the water, it's just not in position yet.
Correct, correct. Yep, that's all I have. Town managers report.
So I have one really boring piece of, well, I have 3 things. The first thing's really boring. I just have to inform you that we have some records dispositions, and that would be 2 boxes of timesheets from January 1st of 2017 to December 31st of 2018, and some accounts payable warrants that after 6 years you can destroy from 2013, 1/1/2013 to 12/31/14, and we had 2 boxes of those. So that is like just an item of, we have to let you know that, so we have officially let you know that. That's really boring stuff. The next thing, though, is really exciting. So I had my first meeting this week with Maine Health about our medical arts facility up by the ball fields off of Old Route 1, off Main Street, I'm sorry. And that's pretty exciting because this is a project that, you know, we had been working towards the last, I guess, 2 years, and then COVID hit and we kind of got behind the 8 ball. But we are starting again to work on that project. So that's really exciting. So I had a initial meeting today, and I have one scheduled on Friday. And I should have an update for you at our next meeting. But I was very encouraged. It looks like we're going to get it. Both the Penn Bay doctor's offices and the Lincoln Health doctor's offices, they're going to be having meetings together to decide what everything should look like. And I've been invited to sit in on those steering committee meetings, so I will be doing that. So it's exciting stuff. So that's something that is going to be quite good for the town and how we move forward. We should have a plan come the second meeting in April. So more to come on that, but that is exciting stuff. And the other exciting thing was we have to have another budget committee meeting on Thursday. Sorry, but it's for a good reason. And you don't hear this often in town government, because we are getting significantly more revenue sharing than we expected. So because I'm such a doubter of those things, it took about a week to digest that this could be a real number, made some phone calls, had a long conversation with our town auditor, Ron Smith. And his recommendation was that from our extremely conservative number of $450,000 of revenue sharing, and Will, I know, you're just sitting there like, we had this whole discussion at Budget Committee. We have anticipated only $450,000, and their projection is $795,000. So Ron's thought was that we go back and take another look at that, and I would agree with that. So my recommendation, Peg's recommendation, in consultation with our auditor, is that we go back, look at the revenue sharing number, make adjustments there, and some of those items that we need to reconsider would be some items in capital, and also addressing some of the employees that were not restored based on the American Rescue Plan money that we restored public safety employees with. So Thursday night, I checked with the Budget Committee. They are available Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I hope the Select Board is too. The reason this is important is because I need to get the ballots printed, and I think school board's meeting Thursday night, so I'll have their budget numbers to go on to the ballot, and we're just going to have to redo some of our budget numbers.
Go ahead, Paul.
So can we approve the warrant Thursday night if all things fall into place then?
Well, yes.
Okay, so we don't have to do it tonight. We don't have to.
Well, you can do some of it tonight if you'd like. I mean, it's only going to affect a couple of the line items. We're not going to change every line item in the budget for sure. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. I'm sorry. It took us a while to connect with Ron, and a lot of conversations. And what Peg's in my recommendation, just so you know, before there's no surprise to you, is we're still not going to fully anticipate that $795,000. What we did is we took the difference between the 450 and the 795, cut it in half, and said we feel safe with that. And with our recommendations, we're $86,506 under LD1. So I mean, we've been under LD1 for 4 years now. That's really good. And it'll be and bear in mind, I do not have the school numbers yet. If the school were to stay the same, you'd see a decrease of almost 2% in your taxes. It's unheard of.
That's great.
I got to tell you, this has been full of surprises, and I'm going to hark back to the difficult decisions that were made last year by the Select Board and the Budget Committee. We would not be in the shape we're in now if we had not been proactive. I think we weathered that storm extremely well. So those were my big items.
We'll move on to the consent calendar. Would somebody like to make a
Motion
motion?
to approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yep, okay. New business. I would assume this must be Max.
It's Max.
the Odd Wives Community Development Block Grant.
This is an item that'll be quick. So the state of Maine operates the Community Development Block Grant Program. This is a special program that has different sections. For the one I'm talking about tonight, it's the Economic Development Program. So the town applies on behalf of the business. In this case, Odd Wives approached me. And essentially, we are seeking a grant that will go to Odd Wives, and in exchange for, the basic summary is, for every full-time equivalent employee that Odd Wives intends to hire, they can receive up to $30,000. In this case, Odd Wives has stated that they intend to hire at least 3 full-time equivalent people. These are people who will have 1,750 hours in a year. In exchange, Odd Wives also has to provide a half match. So in this case, it's $45,000 for a $135,000 project total. Odd Wives wanted to do this 2 years ago, I think. And on the first year, they were thinking back and forth. They were a bit unsure. And I said, don't do it unless you're sure about it. You know, we don't want you to make a big risk, and we want to make sure you're comfortable with it. So they waited 1 year, and then COVID happened. So despite them feeling very confident in 2020, they had to pull back last time. And this year they say, we want to do it. There's a lot of equipment we need to get. There are some people we want to hire. This is the year we want to do it. And so that's just it. One of the requirements that we need for the formal application process is we need to hold a official public hearing. So part of it is why I'm talking tonight is because we have Lincoln County News and Courier Gazette here, so they're going to probably run an article about that. But I also have to send out an official ad that will be running in the next few weeks' papers. And then
Will that be at the next meeting in April?
Next select board meeting would be nice. Yes.
Yes, just needed to know.
And
Now, so they haven't applied yet. We just got to
no,
vote on doing this for them.
So it works in, I'd say, 3 phases. The first phase is the letter of interest, where they just simply say, this is what we plan on doing with the money. And the state says, yeah, that's an eligible use. And they've done that. We've received their acceptance, I think, 2 weeks ago. The second phase is this one, where we submit a formal application. We're a bit more specific. The town has to be more aware about it. And essentially, we're just consenting to saying, we will support and advocate for this grant application. And then the third process is when the actual implementation happens, where we get the money from the state and we just sort of keep track of Odd Wives' progress.
Now, a lot of places that write grants for other people get money out of the grant, a percentage or whatever. Does the town?
Would the town receive money?
Yes, is writing the grant and being the. I was just curious because I know somebody that I know writes grants for hospitals and they get paid very well to do it. And I was just curious how this worked.
I mean, considering I'm the one who's doing the grant writing and I'm a contractor, yeah, Jan sees where I'm going now with this.
I don't want to start paying Max to write grants.
No, I mean, he's technically, he's not a town employee, but he's contracted through the town. I just didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Some towns can do that. There is a line item where the business, or I guess in this case, the town can say this much is going to go to administrative work. That is something that always happens, and that's usually something the town and the business need to.
And I was just curious if that could apply to this potentially.
It could. It then adds in a bit of paperwork just because we have to then keep track of the person who's running the grants and everything. But because you already have the contract with McKed, kind of already is a bundled package. So
I would say indirectly, we get money back anyway through taxes.
Right,
through-
I understand that.
and
Yeah.
employment.
Yeah, people coming in. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just curious if there was for one, that's all. Does anybody else get any questions on the board?
Just a comment, if I may. It's a great business. I've enjoyed their beer and their pizza. I've camped out of their outdoor serving area where you can't go inside because of COVID. It's a nice experience.
Save it for the letter of support. We got to do that next time.
And I'm enthused and happy we're able to participate in this as a town.
Does anybody else get any comments? You all set, Katie?
Yes, I am.
Cool. I just want to be on the next next
Yep,
meeting's
that'd be one of the
agenda.
items for the next agenda. Citizens petition for the 80 Gray Park.
As you know, we received a petition for the, from the circulator Saran Pine for the 80 Gray Park. They had enough signatures, it can be placed on the ballot. The one question I had, because this has been a question for, come up quite a few times, was the explanatory note that was included. So I called MMA and asked MMA Legal about the explanatory note, and their legal opinion was no explanatory statements with questions. And I think we've been told that forever. I did also inquire to our town attorney. So then I called Eileen Donliger because I mean, I know we've had this conversation many times. She's like, absolutely, no, we don't do that. I'm like, okay. So then I had a conversation with our town attorney and we played a bit of phone tag, and apparently I was put in her spam several times because I had sent the petition to her several times. Well, I finally got an answer today. She takes a different stance than MMA. And she said that the explanatory note can be included on the warrant. However, she did make 2 non-substantive changes, and I did contact Saran prior to the meeting, and the substantive changes are, at the beginning of the question, it should say by voter petition. So it's on the copy you have. And I apologize, I did not have this to you earlier, but I literally got this like 16 minutes before the meeting. So by voter petition, which is, it would be Article 47, and I'll read it so everybody's clear. It says, by voter petition, shall the town approve the creation of the 80 Gray Park to be located on the property containing the former 80 Gray School map U4 lot 63 and adjacent properties located on map U4 lot 62 and map U5 lot 30. And then it says explanatory note. What she suggests, our attorney, is that it says petitioner's explanatory note to be included with this article. This municipal park would exist in perpetuity and be created without the use of town tax dollars. Creating the park would include removing the former 80 Gray building, removing the obsolete tennis courts, and restoring the wetland and buffer area on the property. So originally the wording was, it is our hope. That's how it was written on the petition. What our attorney suggests is, it is petitioner's hope that in addition to the existing athletic fields, this park will eventually include a gazebo, children's playground, recreational courts, farmers market, and community gardens, which may or may not require private or public funds. So the changes were strictly to add by voter petition at the very beginning of the question, and then petitioners in front of explanatory note, and then petitioners in the last sentence instead of are, saying instead petitioner's hope. And that would be her suggestion, our town attorney's suggestion for the changes. And I did talk to Saran, who, as the circulator said, this looks okay, Julie, provided it is binding. Thank you for all of your help, Saran. So to me, that's, I think we should follow the town attorney's suggestions. But it's different than what we've ever been told. Just so you're aware, if you'll recall, the firework ordinance and the explanatory statement with the fireworks ordinance, because you remember there was so much confusion with the yes or no, and we were told we couldn't do an explanatory statement, which would have clarified everything. So I just wanted to make sure we were doing it right. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay.
So I put it as Article 47.
Okay. So that's part of the warrant. So
And that will be part of the warrant.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep. All right, that's the next thing on the agenda, the warrant. Do we want to hold off until we have our
If you
budget
would-
meeting? Would somebody like to make a motion to table that?
I would move to table it simply because I really haven't time to go have time to go through this.
Right, and I am,
That's not your fault.
I tried, believe
I know
me.
you-
I have been talking to her since Friday, and then she didn't get back to me. And then she asked me and then I sent it again to her yesterday morning, and then she sent me, literally, I sent it again this morning, and then she finally sent it through. She goes, I mean, I was stalking her. I felt like I was a true stalker. And then she's like, Julie, I haven't gotten anything. I'm like, I must be in your spam. And then I sent it to all of her associates, and I finally had to send it to a personal email to get it through to her. So obviously they didn't like our domain on our
Is there
email.
a second?
Second.
I just also want to point out that the town, I went to her for what our question, the town question is for 80 Gray. So the town question would be, the binding question for the town. Shall the town approve the creation of up to 36 units of affordable senior housing on the site of the former 80 Gray School and authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey the 80 Gray School property map U4 Lot 63 to Volunteers of America for $1 and on such other terms and conditions that the Board of Selectmen deem to be in the best interest of the town. Now, I would like to just change Board of Selectmen to Select Board.
I would
Thank
agree.
you.
Please.
I would say that would be the only change to make. But that is that's what, that legal wording has to be. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that both questions would appear on the ballot.
Bob?
Do you want to vote on this now, or do you have?
No, I'm
discussion?
just tabling it until.
Oh, okay, we're just tabling it.
I just wanted
Discussion
to-
Thursday night
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah. I just
That'll be
wanted
a-
to make
that'll be
sure
an
that,
Official selectmental meeting, correct?
yes, it
Yeah.
will.
So we can make that.
But I wanted you to understand what was on there, and then we have a whole captive audience, so I thought I would.
Cool. All right. there's a
And this
motion on the
will
floor
be
and a second.
posted on the website, posted in its usual places, and all the usual places in town. And we've tried to post this more with COVID, like in different places around town, which is hard because in the beginning last year, we weren't allowed to really hang things up. If you'll know, like in stores and stuff, they didn't want you hanging things and displaying things.
So are we going to hold off posting this on the website until it's finalized?
Until it's final
Okay.
Thursday.
Yep.
But that is the question as it will appear. And like I said, I got an email confirmation that it was okay. And that way they're clear. And these will both be, it'll be Article 46 and 47 respectively.
All right, we got a motion on the floor and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Tabling this until Thursday, finish the budget.
So the email, when we received the email of the petition, that was in lieu of bringing it to the board.
It was filed with the town clerk.
Okay.
It was filed with
Yeah.
the town clerk. Technically, it gets filed with the
Yeah.
town clerk.
Traditionally, people bring them to the meeting. That's all. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I was just curious.
Technically, it
Yeah.
goes before, when you file it with the
Yep.
town clerk.
All right, 10-4, residents petition for improvements to the Flanders Corner Road.
So we received this from Pamela Jamison, and she's probably not going to want to stand up and talk too much,
I will.
but she will.
Do you want me to stand over here?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So I've been known to run around the barnyard and not right through the barn with my explanation. So I'm gonna try to make this as plain as possible. I'm Pamela Jamison. I've lived on Flanders Corner going on 22 years. That's my husband, and he's lived there going on 30 years before the roads even met in the middle. So we've seen a lot of changes over the past few years, and we're excited to see what we can do with this. I'm representing to you today this petition of majority of the residents. I believe that there was only 2 residents I could not contact. They weren't home or whatever, and I only have 1 no. Everyone else has signed it. And it is just for your consideration of approving our road to be brought up to standard. It is
substandard right now. And we all know we had a really bad mud season, and our road was no exception. I'm not sure how much was spent by the town to try to bring rocks in and dirt and what have you, just to make it so it's passable. I don't know how much that was, but I can tell you it wasn't cheap. We've been known not to get our mail. We've been known for the bus not to come down and pick kids up and drop them off because they can't get through, or they're afraid of getting stuck. There are a few other reasons too that I'd like you to consider. This road obviously is not a private road. It's open to anybody and everybody, and there are many residents of Waldeboro that use our road, and that's totally fine. They use it to go to cut from 220 to 32, to go to the dump, to go to the grocery store, what have you. They can, and that's great. And a lot of them are considerate, but then you have those that aren't quite as considerate and fly down Flanders. And I don't know how their vehicles survive, but they do it, which I believe is adding to the problem. And the problem being the potholes, the ruts, all of that. So that we can't control, and I don't want to control it. I'm not the police. I don't want to do that. But so I guess the other thing is for emergency vehicles, if there's a home fire, if there's a medical emergency, I know that Waldeboro would do everything in their power to get there, but the road is not going to be their friend. So I think that what we are asking is we do understand this is not a cheap ticket. I don't expect to wake up tomorrow morning, next week, next month to a brand new paved road. I know that's not going to happen. And we also understand that there is a process. So we are trying to start the process with the help from you guys. And I don't know if you have any questions. I don't even know if I can answer them. I know we have residents here as well that are here in support of it. And I don't know if they have anything to say or if that's.
So I can just give you, because I talked to John Daigle about this. So you have a couple of options. If they were to do the work themselves, it's going to actually have to be, you're looking at, and this is just construction costs. It doesn't have any legal for the right-of-way issues that may or may not exist there still. You're looking at a $750,000 to an $800,000 just construction if the town crew were to do it. And that's going to take quite a while, and it's going to take years because there's other roads ahead of Flanders Corner. So you're looking at least 5 years out before John can get to it. Then the other option you have is John could get prices on having a company come in and do it, which would be sooner. Either way, if you want it done sooner, you're going to have to bond it. This isn't something we can just save for. That was done in the past. And that would be a question on the ballot. So those are your options. I'm assuming you'd want me to get a price from a contractor just so you can make an intelligent decision on that.
How long is Flanders Corner Road?
I believe it's a mile.
1 mile.
Ish.
How many
homes?
families live on this mile?
I would say there are approximately 14.
Okay. Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, I've been down that road. And it is, as you described, especially if you've had rain and stuff, it gets wet. And in fact, there's a stretch of road that has no telephone poles on it. And one of the things we've been working on is
That is
broadband
correct.
on that road.
Yes.
So I wasn't aware there could be right-of-way issues. I mean, that's going to enter into this, obviously.
It could. And like John said, that's all stuff that has to be done. And that work had been started at one point, he said, and then
Yes.
stopped.
I believe it came to some opposition and
Right, and then everything stopped. So it's starting it up again. And what he said, he went back in his records. And originally the road would have been that back then 300,000 to do, and now it's 750 to 850, and those are ballpark figures and how long it would take. And like he said, just with his work and what's ahead, because we've committed to these other projects, I can ask him to get actual prices from contractors. And I think that would be a conversation we would have. We'd have a conversation, we'd include the budget committee on that. And I would say that would go, if the select board believes that it should be a contractor issue, that would go on to next year's budget. So that might move it along quicker, but it's going to cost more money. So, but we can get you that information.
I agree with you. I think if we do it, it ought to be bonded. It's a long-term capital project. Interest rates are hopefully as low a year from now as they are today. And we may have other things to bond it with if we do it.
Maybe Max can find one of those magical grants.
I'm sorry?
I said, maybe Max can find one of those magical grants.
Yes, and we're very appreciative.
Well,
And I have to also, if I may add, we're very grateful. The town, John comes and he grades it at least twice a year, sometimes more if need be. And believe me, we're very grateful for that. But the problem just is it doesn't last very long. And that's from people going.
And I would just say, and this is something John always tells me all the time, is, the right-of-way issues, it also means trees have to be cut, and people love their trees. And because you need.
took my tree once, so.
I know, it's hard. It's,
I let
believe
him
me.
have it.
Trees are very personal things, and I get it. I may have done things like that in my lifetime, where, I wanted my tree saved. But, so, it's a process. But I do think it was a good start. So at least it's on our agenda. I will let you know. I'm assuming like the street spokesperson at this point. So if I let you know, I can see that. Because I have numbers, but I don't have, I should have asked for emails.
There's actually 2 more numbers.
Oh,
to be
good.
added to- 2 more
Because that
names to be
way,
added to this.
when we get prices, we can have you back.
Perfect.
And that way we know, where you're at and what you're doing. And that would be a great thing.
Cool. Yeah, would anybody else like to step up and speak towards it? I guess you're all set. Yep. Marcia?
I saw her hand.
Yep.
Hello, thank you for letting me comment. I did put this down because sometimes I don't speak very loud. So I thought this might be.
Well, we have a new
helpful for you
sound
guys.
system thanks to Max, so people will be able to hear you, at least on Zoom, and Ruben. Ruben was a big help.
Thank you. So I'm Marcia Smolin, and I'm here on behalf of myself as well as my husband, John Lawrence, and we are the 2 dissenters for blacktopping the road and paving the road. We are thoroughly in support of repairing the road because the road is horrible. And a little history, Flanders Corner Road is a quaint country dirt road in North Waldboro. John and I purchased the 1790s Flanders Corner homestead 14 years ago to live on this lovely quaint dirt road. We were looking for a dirt road so we could enjoy our horse activities, and we're very pleased to see many other people using the road as a recreational venue for such activities as walking, bicycling, horseback riding, jogging, and strolling. Flanders Corner Road has its problems. It has been muddy and rutted during various times of the year since we moved in 14 years ago, and way beyond that, I'm assuming. It was something we accepted as part of the nature of this road. A major repair of the road occurred a short time after we moved in to try and address the road's issues, but what came with this was a widening and a straightening of parts of the road and a 10-mile-per-hour increase in the speed limit to 35 miles per hour. Unfortunately, many people ignore the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit and drive recklessly at much higher speeds in spite of the current poor condition of the road, which is unfathomable because I can't even drive 20 miles on it, let alone 35 or 50 that people drive on this road. With these changes that occurred with the repairs, our quaint country road is being eroded into a 1-mile speed-driven shortcut, as well as a trucking and hauling road. And we believe the increased speeding and trucking and hauling on the road has eroded the repaired road into its current poor condition. We understand why we all want the road and we're requesting the road to be fixed, okay? But we don't want it paved because of the quaint recreational venue that people use it for. If we pave it, we feel that that would be a big detriment to the enjoyment of the road. However, we do realize the integrity of this dirt road could be promoted with repair of the drainage issues, which I believe Julie's talking about with the construction, right? Lowering the speed limit and placing restrictions on through trucking and hauling vehicles, thus eliminating any necessity to pave it. It would be a shame to take a lovely country road, which many people enjoy as a recreational venue, and turn it into a 1-mile blacktop speedway and hauling thoroughfare. I don't feel, and John doesn't feel, this is a great way to preserve the resources of our town. This is a beautiful road. Many people come down this road to enjoy the beauty of it. They walk through our area. We have horses. We have pastures. It is very, very beautiful. In conclusion, John and I are for repairing the road, but not blacktopping or paving it. We believe repairing the drainage issues, reducing the speed limit to 25 miles per hour, and placing restrictions on through trucking and hauling vehicles would go a long way in preserving and maintaining this lovely country road for the people of Waldeboro. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a comment? Melvin?
Yeah, don't we have an obligation to maintain that road so that EMS and fire can get through there at any point in time of a year?
So any of these roads during mud season are a problem. Deaver Road, Flanders.
Yeah, I know Deaver Road had a big problem.
We had a big problem.
And they were down there on a Sunday fixing.
We were down there on a Sunday fixing it. Yes, we were. So what happens is we're notified of it, or John knows about it, or somebody finds out, we go right out. They have the 4-wheel drive. Paul, as the fire chief, John as the police chief, John Lash, and Richard or Derek, well, actually during this mud season, it was Deputy Director Derek Booker. They're all made aware of it. Everybody knows about it. They know what it is. They know if there's an issue. They know what vehicles to take. So we do have an obligation to keep them open. And just so you are aware, very aware, the emergency services keep a very good eye on those things, which is why we were out on Deaver.
Yeah.
And some of it is, honestly, it's people, Deaver Road was somebody doing construction, and they kept bringing a big truck down, and we had to actually physically stop them
Right.
because they don't realize, and our right now, our gravel roads are still posted. Our paved roads are off posting. They went on Friday, but our currently our gravel roads are still posted.
I think even if it does get tarred, I think we have to petition to the state to get a speed limit sign out there.
Well,
Because technically a dirt road is 45 miles an hour, I do believe.
well, part of the problem is too, is that when it's a local road, although there's state standards, we have to cross that bridge when we came to it.
I just think it's ideas like Marcia brought up that could potentially, because that road has been miserable for years.
And people, I mean, I'll tell you, when I've been visiting folks on that particular road, I am amazed at the trucks and the speed at which they travel. And
Colonel?
Just a thought, coming from the Midwest, something you might think about is contacting the National Guard. They may be looking for projects in the summer, their engineer outfits, to do.
it's a great idea.
This might be perfect. I know in the Black Hills, they build bridges, they build roads, they build trails, they build, everything, and they're looking for things. And now would be the time to get a hold of the officer that coordinates military and civilian affairs. And they might help, couldn't hurt.
You get that down?
Yep. You know what I'm gonna be doing first thing in the morning.
Another project that we,
Call the guard.
yes, would you like to come up?
Yes, if this is projected, I'm a resident of Flanders Corner.
Can you just say your name?
New resident, Karen Selvig. If this is projected to take on 5 years, what do we need to do to change the speed limit in that process of waiting?
I will find out. I know it has been discussed in the past.
has.
and-
I remember.
There was
I thought I
issues.
had to go
And there
to
were
the state.
issues, but
I
let me
thought so.
find out. Let me see.
I
I
believe
don't
it was
wanna,
a state issue, because I remember
I
back
seem
when I
to
first
remember
bought
that,
land
but
there, that
let
it was a
me-
state issue.
Then what do we need to do to enforce that?
well,
We
I-
have two police, well,
I
one
understand,
now.
but that doesn't mean it's enforced.
No.
well, and I'll be honest with you, this was one of the things we discussed the other night on the policing thing. It set somebody to run just radar, we'd need more. That's their biggest complaint we have is speeding. And the problem.
They don't need to run radar. They just need to sit in any given spot on that road.
And the problem is when they're sitting there, they'll slow down, and as soon as they're gone, they'll speed back up. That becomes the issue, and right now we're 2 down, 2 officers down, and that was what Jan was explaining, is that there's a 200 officers waiting to go through training. So we're having a hard time attracting, and it's not just Waldeboro, so everybody's clear on this. Maine is having a very difficult time attracting law enforcement officers. So enforcement's going to be tough. I don't want to give you false hope, but let me check into the speed limit issues. I'll try to research what happened in the past and if there's something we can do differently.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Seth?
Yeah, if I could just speak to the neighbors, be very careful what you hope for. I'm a resident of Gross Neck Road, which is a very small, historically very nice get-in road down on Gross Neck, parallel to Dutch Neck. A couple of years ago, there was a plan to upgrade the street. It took a couple of years because of budgeting stuff. We finally got it. 2 things happened that you should just be aware of when I say be careful what you wish for. We ended up having a huge clear cut on both sides of the roads. Johnny was very careful about people's property, which is great, and left strategic trees, but generally added 15 feet of gravel on both sides of the road, enormous. And then when they finally paved it in the fall, I guess it was last fall?
It was the fall.
Yeah, we now have this incredibly wide, incredibly smooth, super highway that people go 60 and more down on. I have a little handgun, I've measured them because I'm right in the middle of it, and it's ugly. They took our beautiful road, which I chose just like the Lord's, and it's not the same. And, I don't think anybody anticipated that, but all of us on the road don't like it. Some people closer to Dutch Neck really didn't like it and fought back against the clearing, and they were a little less aggressive there. But be careful what you wish for and discuss it with the town. There are rules that the DPW has to follow, And the better you understand those, the better. But you might be able to do something like a stone dust and inch and a half minus gravel pack, which is something that's used in some parts of Vermont. Extremely stable, get the drainage fixed, but don't pave it. Just a thought.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can just, for safety purposes, I shudder every day at the speed on that road, and the road's a wreck. And people are speeding by my area, and I have children bicycling, and women with strollers, and they go up this blind hill, and cars are coming down, going up the hill, and they're on the wrong side of the road, and it is very dangerous. We've had 3 accidents on that road since it was repaired. 2 major accidents, which took down our fence, and then eventually took down our pole in front of our house. It came down after it had been cracked, and then it fell down in a storm. But the people in those cars would have perished or been severely hurt if it wasn't for the safety equipment in those cars. People are going way too fast. So anything that you can do, and it's horrifying to sit there and watch this.
And they're going way too fast all over.
I know, and
Yeah, it's not an isolated incident.
But it's hard. And what John had a Chief Lash, had a wonderful Q&A. I'm going to say about 1.5 years. It was prior to COVID. And that was one of the things that he said is, the sad part is it's mostly your own neighbors. You know, the people using the roads. Now, in your situation, I know you're a cut through, it might be a little bit different, but in other areas of town, it's your own neighbors. And sometimes what happens is if it's somebody you know and you see them doing it and it sounds silly and some people are reticent to say something to a neighbor is, hey, you probably didn't realize it, but you were going a little fast the other day. Could you slow down? And that sometimes has more of an effect to help it than the police.
And some of us aren't afraid to do that.
Well, and that's good. But some people get a little, oof, you know, but that's what John said. That's one of the better things that you can do is, it's unfortunate. Kind of, it's like, you know, hey, you probably didn't realize, but it's worth a try. So.
Is anybody else going to say?
The last thing that I'll say is, I think that it doesn't matter what we do to this road. People are going to drive what they want to drive. They're going to drive 60 miles an hour on crushed rock with what's there right now, or they're going to drive it on pavement. In the summer, I know one of the people that live there, you can't even have your windows open because my house is the dustiest house you could ever walk in.
Next to mine.
It's terrible.
I think Marcia's is probably the worst.
I love
Marcia's
being
is
in
probably
the
the
yard,
worst.
working in the yard, your mouth is full of dust because the people, I mean, literally it's like Pigpen just drove by. So I don't know if there's, I trust you guys to make the right decision and I'm leaving it right there. I'm not here I don't want to make any kind of conflict.
Bob?
There seem to be 2 points of view here, and there seems to be a lot of common ground. And I'm just wondering if you can sort out amongst yourselves what you would rather see. I can see arguments on both sides here. And I understand it's a cut through and people go fast. I've seen that. But I also appreciate the country road. So
Yes.
it would be nice if you could resolve that amongst yourselves and then make a suggestion to us.
Where the majority, like I said, there's only one house not represented, pretty much, you know, kind of speaks for itself on what people on the road are thinking.
DOT construction on Route 1.
So this is similar to what we did last month. It's going to be an 1.25 inch overlay on Route 1. And this is beginning in Noblesboro, 0.7 of a mile east of East Pond and extending east 3.31 miles. So it's just letting us know that a permit is going to be issued for this.
They're asking for a staging area, if I read it correctly.
Correct. John will handle all of
They
that.
said where they want to put that?
John normally works with them.
Okay.
This
'cause
is
I
just so
didn't see
you
it.
know, this is coming.
Yep.
We haven't requested in the past posting bonds.
Not in my front yard.
That's basically.
Yeah, we're gonna offer up your front yard, Dan. More for heads up on that.
FY 2022 House Appropriations Committee Community Project Funding Application, is that Max?
Yes, it is.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
On the next two items, I don't understand. So through Midcoast Economic Development District, I received a notice from Representative Shelley Pingree's office. It's been about 10 years since this type of earmark bill has happened.
It has.
Where we're given this opportunity, as her staff would say, it's a second bite at the apple for some federal grant programs. What I would like to do is get a letter of support from the town of Waldeboro, specifically the select board, for two potential applications. One is for, I'm trying to remember, it was the USDA Public Facilities one. For this one, we would be applying up to $1 million for the Medical Arts / Community Center building. And then the second application would be an application that I'm doing with the Midcoast Economic Development District, which is the Department of Justice, I think it's the Burn Memorial one, where it is purchasing some equipment for law enforcement. That is a regional approach that I'm going to be doing with communities from Brunswick all the way up to Northport. I know Chief John Lash has been saying, you know, I need some money for some equipment, and I keep saying it's not available. I don't know what to tell you, and well, you know, here's some money. Right now, the only thing I really need are just letters of support. But the thing I really need to stress for the select board, the residents, for whoever's going to be reading the news articles and whatnot, is that this is a long shot grant. I know I say it, but this is going to be very competitive.
Very competitive.
Representative Pingree is only going to be taking 10 applicants from the entire first district. So we're not just competing with Rockport and Camden and all them. We're competing with Portland. We're competing with Augusta. We're competing with all of them. And I'm saying competing because only 10 applications are going to be taken. And then as for timeline, this will happen. They'll select their 10 applications. And then during the summer, that good old wholesome Washington, D.C. bipartisan talk is going to happen. And then in October, there's going to be the vote. And we're just hoping that our 1 in a million chance leads to us to be there.
But we have to take the opportunity when given.
Yep.
Because if you don't apply, you don't know if you're going to get it or not. And every once in a while, a miracle happens. I've seen it myself.
Yep. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
The fact that you quoted one of the best Philadelphia Flyers ever, I'm very impressed with.
Since I'm part, well, I'm Canadian, so that's why.
He's Canadian.
He's Canadian. I thought he played for the Flyers. Maybe not. No, I think I'm wrong.
Do you want us to make a
You're lucky
motion?
this is not an international broadcast, or else we declare you wrong.
Or a soccer play match. It could be bad.
Do you want us to make a motion to have Julie write up?
Yep.
We can do that.
I have some letters of support that the police one I've been sending out to some other counties and communities already. So I'll just give that one to Julie. And then for the community center, I can write up a special one, but I just need the select board support.
Would somebody like to make a motion for that?
I'll make
To
that
apply
motion.
for those two grants?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Good
Hearing
work,
none, all
Max.
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Now on to old business. And this is
Oh,
yours,
Max.
I'll be quick on this one. So for those who have not been attending these meetings, back in January, the planning board approved a solar farm proposal for Controversy Lane. I was sought by the Relay Power, who is the marketing branch for St. Carpa, who the controversy lane solar farm. And I was given a memorandum of understanding that, boil it down, the town would provide some ad or some advertisement, a link on the website, a social media post, these select board meetings where we're simply just talking about it. And in exchange, for every Waldoboro resident that signs up for it, the town will receive $100 that we can have designated to whatever we want. It could be going, I think, a community navigator position is essentially what we were told, or what was agreed upon most. Last meeting, it was decided to table it. I know there were some items brought up about community solar farms, and I wanted to stress I'm not against community solar farms. I'm not against other local main groups. What I am just trying to say is this is the agreement that I was presented by someone who is developing a solar farm in Waldoboro. There were 4 points of clarification that I do just want to make. First is the solar farm is being built. It's happening. If we don't sign the MOU, the only difference is that we just don't get $100 per resident in Waldoboro. We're not forcing people to sign it. That's the other part. Second is that we do the ads that we are comfortable doing. So as I say, if it's just putting one link on the town website, if it's one social media post, if it's one select board meeting where we just say, you can do signups right now, that's all we have to do. We can end the agreement at any time, and it is a non-exclusive agreement. If Sundog Solar or Revision wishes to make a similar offer, we are not forced to, we can accept that other offer if we would like. And then if the select board chooses to vote down the measure tonight, I will, if it's all right, I would like to seek out at least some nonprofits in the area who could potentially be given this offer instead. I think that's probably a stance that might go over well with some people. The town's not advertising for one specific business, but there is that opportunity for a nonprofit in the area to at least receive a revenue stream. So
the only issue I have with that is we try to advertise for all businesses in town.
Right.
On the town website. So why was this any different? I don't think it is. You know, so.
We don't.
What we put
We
on
have links. We
right.
we don't have links to businesses. We have links to the business association.
Right. And I've spoken with Jen Merritt as well and said,
and
this is
right.
something you can consider if you'd like. And Jen's speaking with her about that.
My issue becomes with any type of advertising is that adds another layer to what we have to administer on the website. And then if something's wrong, then we're getting the calls that you didn't do this or you did this, or so that's my only concern.
I don't care either way. I'm just saying that I believe we advertise for any business, or like you said, goes to the business association and for a link. So I don't see, you know, to Seth's point, we're advertising for a company. We're really not. We're advertising for other businesses as well in town. So, Bob?
Yeah, I'd make a motion
to
that we farm this out to a nonprofit. You mentioned one that may have potential interest, and that we make a deal with them because of the reference, the referral. If they do get subscriptions through their website, or maybe through our link to their website, whoever that nonprofit is, we enjoy some benefit from that and gain some funding for our community navigator. That's my motion.
For that, I just want to point out for that, let's say the Waldoboro Food Pantry, for example, is the one who does that. It would likely be that all that revenue that is gained would just go to the food pantry.
Yeah, right. I don't think we need to muddy the waters with a
understand.
third party pass through. I would just
let it go.
Essentially, what I would like the select board to decide is the link on our website, or should I seek a nonprofit to have it on their website?
The motion is to seek a nonprofit.
Or I don't have to do any of that.
So we just don't do anything, correct? We just say no?
Correct.
All right, so if somebody would just have to make a motion to say, no, we don't want to put it on the website.
But that doesn't leave Max the option of.
Well, as I say, I've already spoken with Jen Merritt to see if she's potentially interested, and she's speaking with the WBA about that. So,
which if they join the WBA, then our link goes to the WBA, correct? So
okay,
it wouldn't be any different than we're doing now.
Right. Yep. Is that
So residents with this idea, residents would not get any benefit.
Well, no, there would still be that 15% that's advertised. It's not changing what's in the customer advantage. The only difference between us signing this MOU and us not signing it is simply, if we sign it, any Waldoboro resident who signs up, the town would receive $100.
Right.
But if we don't sign the MOU,
It goes to
then
somebody else,
it will just go to someone else.
or not even at all.
Might not even go to anyone.
Okay, so if we go with a nonprofit, the town gets nothing, does not get the $100.
Well, the town office one, but if there was a nonprofit that's interested.
Then the
in getting-
nonprofit would
then
get
the
it.
nonprofit would get it.
Right, so that, yeah, okay, the nonprofit would, not the town. Okay,
So town office, I'd like, but.
town office. Gotcha.
So what's your motion, Bob?
The motion is to respectively decline, and ask Max to see if he can get a nonprofit to do it.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any more discussion? You all set, Katie?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see any.
This is what I was thinking. Should I go there?
Yes, go ahead.
So Seth Hall, resident, somebody very interested in solar power, particularly in low-income potential support for solar power projects, which isn't something that's done very much right now. I wrote a letter to the select board, which I'm sure you all read, and I included in it Revision Energy's latest offer, which differs from the Relay Power's offer, in that instead of the town getting the $100, and answer to your question, Evan, the consumer gets a $100 credit. They get $100 cash for signing up with the same program, 10% reduction in their electric bill with Revision Energy. Today, I got in the mail another marketing thing. I'm sure most of us probably saw this, or you will tomorrow. Power Market in Brunswick, same offer. They'll give you $75 instead of $100, and they give you 10%. So my point is, there are multiple offers out there, some of which directly benefit our consumers. I made my feelings about what might appear to some observers as a quid pro quo. The town got involved with accepting donations for advertising or presence on the website. I think the motion is a good one. I strongly endorse that. And I would also like to thank Bob and Ron Phillips for putting an interesting and clarifying letter into the paper last week. I hope lots of you read it. It's this is a complicated, and as the what do you call them? The Attorney General's office has said, as Bob quoted, a buyer beware situation. There are all kinds of unpleasant side effects to some of these deals. They're not all just wonderful. We're going to see lots of them in any emerging technology. And it's just not the place to get involved for the town right now. Having said that, and I'll close with this. Ron and I have talked a little bit about the possibility of a true community solar farm for Waldoboro. That would be one of the subscription model tricks is to call them community solar farms. They are not community solar farms. They happen to be in somebody's community, either in Brunswick or Waldoboro or something. A community solar farm typically is owned by people who put up money, including municipalities, as opposed to a power purchase agreement where somebody else puts up all the money and you just get cheaper electricity. I think Bob pointed out last week, true community solar farms actually save much, much more money. One of the things I'd like Waldoboro to think about eventually would be if we were to figure out a place to put on the overlay district up by the water wells or something like that, a good sized solar farm with revenue bonding or something like this, I'm just brainstorming, we would then actually have enough income beyond the support of the actual project that we could underwrite low income participation in a municipal subscription system. So you get the best of both worlds. There's lots of stuff that's going to happen here in the next few years, and I hope we'll stay on top of it. Yeah.
we are on top of it. Max is on top of it. He just applied for a grant to do the study of whether our infrastructure here could even handle another solar farm. So we're pursuing all avenues.
But this question isn't about negotiating anything like that. This
No.
is strictly
Just-
about
Yes.
the relay. Okay, this is the question is on a specific solar farm.
And I'm strongly in support of it, in case it's unclear.
So I forgot one thing, and I should have
Well,
mentioned
we
it.
still got a motion on the
Oh,
floor. We
sorry.
haven't voted on it.
I thought we did.
Is all those in favor of Bob's motion to not do anything? Decline? Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? One, so it's 4-1.
I forgot one of the most important things tonight that I wanted to do a happy dance about, and that was, guess what happens tomorrow, Ruben?
What happens tomorrow, Julie?
Spectrum Charter will be out wiring Chapel Road.
Nice.
That's only taken 4 years.
Wow.
So we got our email today from Shelley that is, and I just want to say thank you for all of your help with that because
Consolidated finally did make ready.
they did, everything is good. They're going to have trucks out there tomorrow. I called Robin Philbrook today. I emailed her. She didn't email me back. So I've another person who I was calling on the phone today, just to yell and dance with. So we were all excited.
I've been dancing with you, Julie.
I'm telling you, when I got that email, I was so excited. And Ruben, you've worked hard just to get Consolidated to move and everything.
The whole
Thank
time.
you so
I'm glad
much.
we can put this to bed and we're not done. We got more houses to connect.
And I think a lot of people in the town don't realize how much work goes into trying to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
think
been
we all
4
learned the
years
hard
of
way.
fighting and arguing with these companies to do this stuff. It's just, we'll make them do it. It's not that simple. Nope, it's not that simple at all.
If everything was as easy as people thought, we make it look easy. That's the good thing. That's what we do.
Yep, cool. All right, so I guess we'll move along.
Good.
Items for the next meeting.
We had a couple.
Yep.
We've got
I have
those.
them.
Yeah, we've got the EDC discussion about.
Public hearing for audio lives.
Public hearing.
And I'll give you an update on our medical arts facility / that was the other thing too, is the recreation committee is moving ahead at their next meeting. They've drafted an RFP to go out to find an architect for the community center piece, which includes visioning sessions and things like that. So they're moving ahead with their piece of the community center.
You had talked about maybe having a steering committee.
Yeah, I was gonna do that at
You're
the
gonna do that
next,
at the next meeting?
yes, I was gonna do that at the next
Okay,
meeting.
so that'll be another agenda
Right.
item.
Yeah, we'll have, I imagine that'll have a huge portion of that meeting will be about the medical arts facility.
So,
Yeah, I was just curious, if the rec committee goes forward with lining up solicitation for professional services, where's the funding coming from that right now? Where will
That
be paid for?
That was money that had already been appropriated back in it's in the capital fund. I'm gonna say 2010, could be even before 2010. They have leftover money in the capital fund specifically for the community center building.
thank you. Is there anything else? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?